Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I am Saeed, your host, and today I'm joined with Jeremy Dysch, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, area
Actually,
director.
it's Dyche, but nobody ever gets it
Dyche.
right. Subtle
Thank
expression.
you. Exactly. Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy Dysch, area director of Royal Palm Beach and Broker Associate of United Realty Group. He's also
Yep,
the leader of the Florida home selling team, and he has
yep.
built an extensive career helping buyers and sellers throughout the South Florida. Jeremy, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me today. We're gonna have a blast.
Yeah, exactly. So, first of all, I wanted to ask, this is the question that I ask from every single real estate agent that I talk to, Jeremy. Let's just start from the start, from the beginning. How did you originally get into real estate and what made you decide to do the long-term career in this industry?
So interesting how you fall into things in life.
Yeah.
My background was the latest shoe manufacturing business, which has
Wow.
absolutely nothing to do with real estate whatsoever.
Exactly.
So I ended up selling that business in England, moved over to Florida, and meandered around for a few years, really couldn't figure out what to do, like a
Mhm.
lot of people. And one day I answered an ad in the newspaper for a mortgage company wanting loan originators. And so I answered the ad, got hired on the spot, and
Mhm.
went from knowing nothing about mortgages to, in a year's time, having my own business, which I built up into a seven-figure income business over the years,
Awesome.
over 10 years. Um, at the end of our mortgage business, we closed it down because the market crashed. And at that point, real estate had started to change.
Mhm.
Where a lot of our customers used to be realtors, at that point, all the real estate companies were actually forming their own mortgage companies. So
Mhm.
we had to change. So we had to close the business down. I then went into real estate and
Mhm.
somehow managed to do even better in real estate than I did in mortgages. Don't ask me how. I know you're going to. Um,
I'm going
so,
to.
so it's been. I mean, it's been an interesting career with lots of
Mhm.
ups and downs.
Mhm.
The roller coaster nature of the business is always there, unfortunately, no matter how you try to plan and foresee things. The real estate market has a mind of its own, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. No doubt, no doubt. I love it, and I love how how quick you became successful in this industry. I think that shows that you're absolutely genius in building a business. It's not easy, I know it. You're building a
Well,
business and make it
it
successful.
I think that's a really interesting use of term genius because what are the fundamentals of real estate? Well, the fundamentals really of real estate are just like any other sales business, which is
Exactly.
you answer your phone and you're nice to people and you give them
Exactly.
the information that they want. So there's no magic push a button solution other than I think I've managed to do the fundamentals, which I think should be expected of you anyway.
Exactly.
I've just done it year after year, day after day,
Yeah.
month after month.
Yeah, exactly, Jeremy. And let me tell you this, because I talk to a lot of agents, and not a lot of agents say, they have the same perspective as you. Then you're mentioning like, you gotta help them in this way. You gotta kind of understand. I think that's an absolutely a fantastic point of view. I love that, Jeremy. I love that.
Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, there's amazing technology in the industry,
Yes, no doubt.
amazing technology, but that still doesn't really avoid the fundamentals.
For sure. Exactly. You're right about it. You got to use it, but the fundamental is that kind of the way you treat the people and how
Yeah.
you genuinely help. For sure.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
awesome. So I wanted to also ask about that you have worked through several, different real estate cycles, as you have mentioned, been from mortgage to
Sure.
real estate and all of that. What
Sure.
has allowed you to remain successful while selling agents into an industry and leave after only 3 years?
Working, actually
Mhm.
working every single day and
Mhm.
changing my business as the market has changed. When when I first got into the industry, and this is kind of giving my age away, we were using maps for directions to get around. Okay. Then we used Google, then Yahoo Maps came out, and we were able to
Oh, like
print
old
down
time, good
directions
old time.
because my sense of direction was just horrendous. And
Ex-
now I drive a Tesla. So literally, I speak the address in, and my Tesla drives me to wherever I need to be. So I've been around the industry a long time. I've seen a lot of changes. And I think one of the keys has been always pivoting as there's been changes. So when short sales became a thing, I mean, I picked up so many short sales within my first month of trying to work them, then almost collapsed from the workload because short sales were so much work. And at the time,
Exactly.
you were probably lucky if you closed 50% of them, probably lucky. Um, but then the pivot from short sales was to foreclosures, REOs. So again, I pivoted my business to REOs and had probably some of my most successful years in real estate doing REO foreclosure properties. I represented probably 15 of the major banks out there. And it was a whole different time because then it was super important that I had to build it as a business. Now, why I say that is there were so many facets of the foreclosure business, from having construction crews doing all kinds of work, preservation work, taking care of properties, to having to have billing where you had to invoice and then track expenses. It truly was not a business that could be handled by one person. There was way too much work involved. And that really caused me to make the switch from, I guess, sales more to being the entrepreneur and the business owner, where I had to use virtual assistants and everything else because the workload was just tremendous. And I think one of the challenges I've seen in real estate over the years is your typical agent out there is a solo agent trying to do everything. And unfortunately, it's a very difficult position to be in because you literally are doing everything. And when that's the case, it's easier for things to slip through the cracks. But the business is a catch-22 for many newer agents. An agent struggling to make a living is they can't afford to pay for the systems, they can't afford to pay for the help. And that's what really sets apart the solo agents from the teams, the team leaders, and
Exactly.
everything else.
Exactly. I think you're 100% right about that part, Jeremy. And I love the point. I think that attitude, that mindset of adaptation, like, you gotta, if there is changes in the market, you gotta adapt yourself to it. And you gotta be sure that you will survive, not only survive, you will thrive through that changes, which are happening. Like right now, we have AI. You mentioned about it, like Google Maps, Yahoo Maps. Now AI all over the place. You gotta be sure that you're
AI,
on top of
AI
it.
calling, everything. I mean,
Exactly.
the technology is beyond belief. I don't pretend to understand how it works. I just know that I'm able to utilize it.
Exactly. And you don't have to understand how it works. You have to just be able to understand how can I use it in my benefit for my business.
Yeah,
100%. I love that
yeah.
answer. I love that answer. So let's talk about the current Palm Beach market. I know you're not in Palm Beach right now. You're kind of ran away from there, but
Very
how
hot down there. So I'm glad to be back.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I know it. But how would you describe the current real estate market in Royal Palm Beach and the surrounding Palm Beach county areas? Would you say buyers currently have more negotiation power, or are good, properties still moving quickly? So how is that?
That's a really good question because it's a very complex marketplace where you've got
Sure.
an amazing mixture of things that are going on. Um, I'm very fortunate to live and work in an area where people spend fortunes to come and vacation.
Mhm.
So you've got very different types of market. You've got markets. You've got everything from the ultra luxurious Palm Beach Island homes,
Mhm.
which it's interesting for me when I step into them because I'm exposed to a world that is just absolutely mind blowing.
Yeah.
Some of the spectacular properties you see are just.
Wow.
I mean,
Luxury?
I mean, I had a humble upbringing, a very good upbringing, but I'm exposed to a section of life that I've never been exposed to before.
Wow.
You also have a very big middle income family
Mhm.
marketplace.
Mhm.
And then you also have a large condo marketplace because obviously we have a lot of retirees, we have a lot of people that buy second homes. So you've got a
Exactly.
very diverse marketplace going on. And within that marketplace, city by city, it is every city is different. And the real estate market is in a position that I have never seen really through of my entire career. What I mean by that is the market can't seem to make up its mind right now what it wants to do.
Wow.
So we've got a situation where we've got interest rates that are the highest point they've been in several years.
Mhm.
However, when you look historically where mortgage rates have been, they're not that crazy. But the
Exactly.
public perception is that they're astronomically high, particularly because we went through that period of time during COVID where
Yes.
people were
Yes.
getting 2 and 3% mortgages. So really, they've become prisoners to their homes because now if they want to sell and buy something else, they're going to have a mortgage rate that's probably, as we speak today, in the high sixes. So,
Yes.
and then also with Florida, you've got a challenge because insurance has basically, I would say, quadrupled over the last few years.
You're
Now,
right. Yes.
even though we're on the east coast of Florida, and touch wood, we haven't had any challenge really with storms. It's been a lot more on the west coast. We're still all paying the we're still all paying for the damage that the storms have caused, even though they were not even close to us.
Exactly.
So one of the challenges you have in Palm Beach County is you've got a general unaffordability situation right now. The luxury market is different. The luxury market is mostly cash buyers.
Mhm.
So it's irrelevant to them really where interest rates are and what the cost of insurance is. They're cash
Yeah, for sure.
buyers with generational wealth.
Exactly.
They're very different to the average family out there. So the one thing that's noticeable in Florida is prices seem to keep going up. Um, there is lots of pent up buyer demand, and I say pent up because again, with stuff being unaffordable, it's very difficult by the time
Mhm.
you get you quoted what your payment is on a mortgage, and then you've got the cost of insurance and everything else. But there is still a significant amount of transactions being done every day, which really
Mhm.
makes sense because people always need a place to live.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, even though some of the factors that are out there may not be favorable right now, people still have to live and they have to buy places, they have to sell places, they have to rent
Exactly.
places. So the marketplace is buoyant, but it's very different from city to city, market to market. So I hope that was a. I know that was kind of like a long-winded
Complete.
answer
No,
to a
it's
quick question.
no. This is exactly what I wanted. Like, that was a complete answer, actually. I think how how you differentiate between the luxury and the ordinary people market and how things are going. And I love the answer. Exactly what I want. Cool. So, just wanted to also ask, which price ranges are currently experiencing the strongest activity right now, and what do you see about that?
About price ranges.
Yes, yes. Well, which price
Um,
ranges are currently experiencing, the highest or the
okay,
strongest activity?
Okay, so if we start on the lower price properties, I mean, the condo market is, I mean, you can still buy in a 55 and older, an older person housing community. I mean, you can pick up a place 70, 80,000, all the way up. I would say middle income families, single family homes. I would say probably medium price right now is 450 to 550.
Mhm.
And then it goes up and up and up. I
I
mean,
know.
I was fortunate to have a home for sale last year. It was a $13 million property in
Wow.
Boca Raton, and I mean, again, as I kind of touched on earlier, you walk into lifestyles that are just amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah, they're
So we
unbelievable.
have prices. I mean, we have prices just all over. I mean, just all over the place. I believe there was a recent sale in Manalapan, and I think it was $250 million. Now,
Wow.
if you figure the running costs on a property are probably about 10% of value, that means
Wow.
running costs on a property is 25 million a year.
Jesus Christ, Jeremy. But you said a different lifestyle, and I love how people are doing it. That's a kind of totally
Yeah,
a
I mean,
different aspect.
talk about a motivation for wanting to, you know, have better things in life. I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. You know,
Perhaps
and then
everybody wants that.
yeah. So for me, it is it's just an amazing experience walking into some of these homes where there might be in the garage there might be a Bugatti and a Ferrari and a couple of
Yeah,
yachts out back.
exactly, exactly. That kind of thing. You know, who doesn't want that kind of thing for
Who
sure?
who doesn't want that? Yeah, amazing.
Exactly. So let's talk about seller expectations as well. What are the biggest mistakes that sellers are making in the current market? You know, are some sellers are still expecting the same prices and bidding,
Yeah.
wars they saw a few years ago? So how is that? Because a
Yeah,
lot of people go for it.
yeah, absolutely. So a couple of years ago, I mean, it was a time where even as an inexperienced brand new agent, you could hop in and get business because literally
Mhm.
it was you would put a property up for sale and you'd have 6 or 7 contracts same day. It was
Mhm.
insane. And more importantly, it was not sustainable. Okay. It was a very
Mhm.
unique period of time. So now here we are, 2.5 years on from that. You have a challenge with certain sellers, again,
Mhm.
thinking the market is what it was just 2.5 years ago, which is, oh, let's go high on the price and we'll just get multiple offers, even if they're
Mhm.
lower. And the reality of the situation is these properties are lingering on the market longer. People aren't even coming in like with silly offers. You're getting a lot of showings, so there's activity, but no offers, and that's because it's been priced wrongly to start with. Now,
Wow.
I also put a bunch of blame on that on the shoulder of the realtors that are involved.
Mhm.
One of the things that
Exactly.
I've always done is I've been straight up with people and told them, and my favorite phrase is, "Can I have permission to tell you what you don't want to hear?" And that's really important because if somebody wants to price their home at $1 million and yet all of my comparable sales are 750 to 800, I have to say, look, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, anybody coming in is going to look at comps of other
Mhm.
prices sold. What is it that you feel has put your house 20% above market value? Well, we're only messengers. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, a lot of
Exactly.
inexperienced realtors are kind of weak in talking to their customers because they're frightened of, oh my God, I've got to do this. I can't tell them
Yeah,
what's really going on because I just want to get the listing. And the reality is they're doing a disservice to their customers because
exactly.
because we aren't hired to be their friend. We're
Mhm.
hired to do one thing, and that's pretty much get them top dollar for the home in whatever time frame it is that they want to sell. But they are
Mhm.
not hiring us to be a friend. That's
I
truly a
love
disservice that happens all
I
the
love
time
that.
in the industry.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, yeah, you said it very well, Julie. They hire us to help them to sell their property, and they hire you because they are not the professional. You gotta guide them, even if it's that bitter thing. They have to understand that part, even if it's not what they want. You know, because you can't kind of promise something that is not actually deliverable. So you gotta people need to understand. I love that answer. I love that answer.
Yeah,
So, I want to talk about Jeremy has the buyers as well, because I know that's your personal brand. So your
yeah.
personal brand uses a very memorable message. Jeremy has the buyers. So how did you develop that positioning, and what does it mean for a seller who knows, who works with your team?
Um, it's a brand that actually says what it does. I think one of the problems you have, not just in real estate, but in the marketing world, is what is your message to the customer? What is in it for them? Okay, so in the real estate business, it's never about us as the agents. And although you see so much glossy marketing, I'm the best, I'm number one in the
Exactly.
marketplace. Okay, other than boosting an agent's ego, what does that really do for the customer? It doesn't. It doesn't do
Yeah.
anything for them.
Anything.
Okay, so my brand is, yeah, Jeremy has the buyers. Okay, so if you're a seller, who do you want to do you want to hire one of the 20 agents that are number one in the marketplace? And I think last time I checked with my math, you can actually only have one person that's number one. I don't know, maybe math has changed over the years. Okay, but every time I'm dealing with a client, my thinking has to be the same. What is in it for them? It is not about
Exactly.
me. So
Me.
I have to take my ego off the table and say, okay, what's the value that I can bring
Bring.
to this transaction? And I think one of the real challenges that agents have today is, what value do they really bring to the table? Again, if you think about how real estate has changed rapidly over the years, when I first got into real estate, realtors were very much the gatekeepers to properties. Then you had the big tech people come in, where no longer were we the only source where consumers could find properties. Okay.
Yes.
So it got harder and harder for a realtor to justify, what value are you doing? Are you doing? So one thing that I always train my agents on is to say, if you met somebody in an elevator or a grocery store and you've got literally 30 seconds or a minute to talk to people about what you do and what value you bring in, what is your answer going to be? And if your only answer as a realtor is to say, well, I'll work hard, I'm honest, and I can negotiate well, well, how have you differentiated yourself from a million other realtors that are out
Exactly.
there? So probably value is the number one thing that I train all of my agents on. And value can't be replaced from um, ego marketing, where we appear the best, and all of that stuff. Value is absolutely huge for the customer. And I always think, no matter where technology is in the industry, there's a place for value. People will
Exactly.
pay more for value when they see how it benefits them.
Exactly, Jeremy. You just said what Russell Branson, the legendary marketer, always said. He says that you are not the protagonist of your customer. Your customer is always the protagonist. You are Gandalf the Grey. In your case, you're Gandalf the White, Jeremy. And they are Frodo Baggins. They are the protagonists. Your responsibility is always to guide them. Do not let your ego to come into their history. You just need to help them. And what you said was absolutely right. I can't agree
And
more.
more importantly, you have to tell them what they don't want to hear.
Exactly.
Because there's nothing worse in a transaction when a property sits on the market and your seller is getting annoyed because the place isn't selling. And there can be so many reasons why that place isn't selling. But if you're not telling I shouldn't say tell, if you're not giving them the options of what it is that could be changed on the property, and ultimately they're the decision maker, they're the boss. Okay. But you've got to be able to give them the options. And then that way you can repurpose a property where it really needs to be. But unfortunately, again, too many agents just they can't have that harsh conversation with their customer, the client.
Makes sense. Makes sense, Jeremy. You're 100% right about that, Pop. And I think you're right on every aspect of it. Every aspect of it. Love the answer. Cool. Now let's go to the next part, the next question, about relocation to South Florida. So you work with people relocating to South Florida. Where are the most of those buyers coming from, and what are they actually searching for when they arrive? And that's something that I think many people want to see because you're a realtor, you know these kind of things.
Sure. So we have an amazing amount of people moving to Florida on a daily basis. All of
Mhm.
them looking for different things. Again, depending on their stage in life. People might be moving down and just needing a one-bedroom rental because they want to take a look at a marketplace and see where they want to live.
Mhm.
And as you know, during COVID, we had people buying homes sight unseen. which then presented kind of like an interesting resale market because people moved into properties and then realized they didn't like them. So, and again, where do people come from? I mean, we've had a huge influx from the Northeast. We've had a lot of people coming in from California, and
Yeah,
it's
from
kind of
Cal.
it's kind of interesting. You asked me earlier about the marketplace, and I don't pretend to understand the marketplace. What I mean
Mhm.
by that is I see these prices going up and up, and I look
Mhm.
at it in amazement. But it is what it is. So I
Mhm.
work within that. We get buyers coming in from California that have just sold a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,200 square foot home for a million, million five, 2 million. I
Yeah,
mean, and they come into the Florida marketplace and they're seeing the prices here, which I'm looking at as being insane, and they're like,
yeah.
how quickly can we buy? So we have people coming, we have people coming from all over the world literally to buy. I mean, the Miami marketplace, I mean, you've got so much South American traffic there. I mean, the Miami marketplace is so completely different again. So I mean, we've got people coming from all over. There's still a lot of Canadians in the marketplace. um,
That's
that come down for second homes. So I mean, we get people coming literally from all over.
that's a great, yeah, 100%. Like, as you said, a lot of Canadian, a lot of people from California and all of that. Yes. And what misconceptions do relocating buyer often have about the Palm Beach market? Maybe give us an example, something that you have experienced as well.
Well, actually, if we take a funny approach to that,
Yeah.
you take the Canadian people who come in, who have come from a climate where when you're driving around, you see snow removal services, and then you're
Yeah.
coming into Florida and you've got like hurricane awareness stuff and things like
Oh,
that. Um,
exactly.
I think my favorite thing that I experience with people coming from like the Northeast is
Mhm.
they come down to Florida and they're like, oh, I'm really going to miss the seasons. And I start laughing. And my response is, listen, let me tell you something. When you're watching like the NFL games in a hot tub with a beer in your hand, okay, and you're looking on your phone on either your Facebook posts or on TV, and there's like 6 feet of snow up there. It's amazing how you get used to not having the seasons very quickly. So that's my favorite misconception of people moving down.
I
It
love
is
that.
amazing. It is amazing how fast they forget the seasons.
Yeah, exactly. It is amazing. And I agree. That's kind of funny as well, but you're 100% right about it. Cool. Now you mentioned insurance a lot of time, and I wanted to talk about insurance as well. So in Florida, the purchase price is only one part of the total cost of owning a property.
Sure.
How having insurance costs, HOA fees, condo reserves and special assessments change the conversation with your buyer. Do they get surprised? What is really going on with that?
Yeah, they do get surprised, and I would say one thing I've experienced over the last 2 years, which I've not experienced really throughout my career, is the number of people withdrawing from purchase contracts after they've passed their inspection phase, which means other than the financing contingency, they really
Mhm.
have no way of backing out of the contract without consequences. I've seen across the industry over the last couple of years more people pulling out like right before the closing table and everything else, because it's one thing that we tell them what the costs are. So if somebody's doing a mortgage, yeah, you're breaking it down to your principal and interest, your taxes, your insurance, your HOA fee, which is very common. And we've had I shouldn't say we've had. I've seen more escrow disputes across the industry recently, just because when somebody sat down and they're going to sign their name for the next 30 years to all of these expenses, even though we've tried our best to educate them, that's still very different when you're sat there and faced with it and you're about to put pen
Exactly.
to paper. So escrow disputes have happened a lot. And again, if you look at it statistically, it's probably been the
Mhm.
highest period of broken contracts
Yes.
probably ever. So yeah, it definitely definitely something you have to work extra hard on, working with the client to prepare them for
Yeah.
what they're going to face here.
And have you seen buyers walk away from properties because of the insurance or association related
Yes,
costs?
yes,
Wow,
absolutely,
wow,
absolutely.
wow. So that's interesting. That's a really interesting thing. That's how kind of your market is a little bit different from other agents because I talk with agents from all over the US and not a lot of agents see something like that. Cool. So awesome. Now let's talk about building your real estate team because you mentioned that you have a team, and I think you have made that transition from being an individual real estate agent to leading the Florida home selling team. What was
Yeah.
the most difficult part of building and managing a successful team? Let us know about it. What was the story of it?
I think when you're a solo agent, you're doing everything and you're taking care of everything. And kind of like in all of our lives, doesn't matter what careers we're in, we know that if we take care of something, it's handled really well. Anytime you
Mhm.
go one person out, put two persons out, it gets more and more difficult to make sure that tasks are completed to your satisfaction. So what I had to do was I had to understand and kind of give people the freedom to handle things their way, not the way that I necessarily would have done it. That doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong, but just that they have a different way. So giving up, I'm not sure that control is the word, but allowing people the freedom to
Mhm.
use their own talents to do things in a different way was difficult for me. So
Yeah.
I had to allow people to do that because if I tried to monitor them too closely, well, that's a suffocating environment that doesn't work for anybody.
Exactly.
I had to allow them to flourish. My poster child example of that is a lady who's been with me for several years called Dina. Um, when she came to me, she was very new in the industry. She'd had
Mhm.
maybe done one rental with a broker that, let's just say, was an old traditional broker and hadn't really
Mhm.
kept up with different ways of doing business. And I was
Yeah.
able to initially allow her to shadow me on appointments. She came with me everywhere, and then I was able to just basically point her in the right direction and set her loose. And she, in her first year as a new agent, I mean, she sold 32 homes in her
Ooh,
first
awesome.
year in the business, and she was just a sponge where she soaked up information from me, and it's just developed into we have the most fantastic working relationship, even now several years on. um, she was exceptional. That's not typical of the people that come through, but
Exactly.
that was a great way for me being able to say, okay, go get them. I
Yeah.
understand your way of doing business is different, but go do it. And then
Go do
I'm
it.
here. I'm in the background here
I
for
support you. Yeah.
help. Yeah, yeah.
I
So I
love
mean that.
that.
Yeah,
You know, what you're telling me, Jeremy, is like when you're building a team, like I have a team as well, Jeremy, and I have the exact same experience. Like it's hard to trust people and because you know everything. I'm like, you want to get something done, you gotta do it yourself. But no, it doesn't work when you have a team. You gotta
correct,
trust your team. You gotta allow them to grow
correct.
and you will realize that you were wrong. Like you keep and you allow them, they're like, hey, that was really good. They're doing it on their own way. The method is different, but the outcome maybe it can be even better than what we expected. So
Yeah, and that's very hard. I mean, again, we chatted off camera as we got started about being a parent, and everybody has a different style of parenting.
Mhm.
But ultimately, at some point in their lives, as children grow, they're going to go do things their
Exactly.
own way. And as
Exactly.
parents, I mean, as parents, you're limited to what you can
You
say.
can't do anything.
You have to be supportive, but they are going to flee the nest at some point. And I think that's the same with agents. One of the things that I would say in running a team that is frustrating is that there are times when you're really training your agents to become your competition, because ultimately agents do leave you and go do their own thing. So it's kind of a dilemma of a situation, because it's like not everybody's going to stay. I mean, that's again is the nature of real estate, and that's one of my frustrations, kind of over the years,
Mhm.
is I've
Mhm.
trained so many agents. It's, but it is what it is. And I've just found that, again, I think being a good person to everybody means
Exactly.
you get way more good back than you get bad back. And I just think that's been
100.
a great, I think that's been a really good philosophy.
Me as well. Like this is, I think that's a philosophy of life for me as well. Like, like I love this poem that is actually written in Persian, but the translation is that the whole world is like a mountain, and your actions is like the vibe, the sound that you send to the mountain. They are going to return back to you, whatever that you do, whether it's good or bad. I think you're
Yeah.
100% right, Jeremy, and I love
Yeah,
that.
and I think,
Uh,
and that's something I'm really struggling with at the moment in life generally is, on a daily basis, we're all exposed to these scams, these phishing scams, and
exactly.
in a lot of cases, there are unfortunate people behind this that are in a form of servitude where they're being forced to do things. And I just think, however we arrived on where we are in life and on this planet, and I'm talking probably more spiritually. I just don't believe we were put here to go out of our way to do harm to people. So that for
Yes.
me is kind of like, is very discouraging right now with what's going on in society. Technology has been great, but it's also given rise to awful abuses of
Yes.
situations.
Yes, yes. Lots of abuses that I'm seeing. Like, I think, honestly, like in this point, we also need morality and the people that are teaching these things more than ever. Like, and I'm seeing these people are rising and all over the world. And I think we genuinely need these people to teach because, think about it. We have had the technology, the power that any generation had ever dreamed about. And now we also have needs to be learned. We need somebody to teach us. Hey, you got to use it in proper way because if you lose the morals, if you lose the morality, what else do we have as a human? So
What else do we have?
yeah,
Correct.
exactly,
Our
exactly.
lives are not just money. Money's important, okay, for
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
Life without money is difficult, no doubt about
Exactly.
it. But at the end of the day, we're the only people that can look ourselves in the mirror and say, did we do the right thing?
Mhm. Exactly, Jerome. Exactly, exactly. Since we talked about technology and let's talk about technology and the future of real estate, Jerome. So technology is changing how people choose real estate profession. Consumers now use Google, AI, social media, maybe sometimes Zillow. And right now, I see that a lot of people are using AI platform to research agents. So tell me, how do you think technology and AI will change the real estate business over the next few years?
I think that's a hugely important question. Um, I think if the typical agent out there is not prepared, they're going to get completely left behind. And and again, I don't like to be negative, but I think one of the realities of the situation is with the power that consumers have out there, if you can't bring value to the transaction, what role are you going to? As things improve technology wise, I mean, push the button transactions are happening more and more. Okay, we have a cash offer system where we can throw out an offer for a customer. Let's say, again, in Florida, we get a lot of estate sales as elderly people pass. So right
Mhm.
now, you have families that are out of state, could be in a different country. They don't want to be bothered in marketing a property. So literally,
Exactly.
we're able to give them a cash offer. They can hit the accept button.
Mhm.
I don't have to do any other marketing for a property. I don't have to pay another agent to go show the property or do anything else. So in utilizing that technology, the I think transactions are going to speed up significantly. Um, and
Mhm.
I think it's going to become easier and easier for consumers. However, I say that with caution, because
Mhm.
experience and pitfalls within the industry always occur. It's a complicated transaction, and even though technology helps simplify it. Things happen all the time. Things come from left field all the time. And I think that's the role of the realtor is experience. What happens when things need more attention? And
Exactly.
so I really I'm guarded by that because I see how technology affects the access, the speed, and everything else, but it's not foolproof. Not
Yes.
yet, and I think it's a long way. And I think it's a long way from that. But I think we're very much more headed to push a button transaction with closings happening much more rapidly. I mean, to me, it's I don't really understand why transactions take as long as they do. There's
Mhm.
technology involved in every aspect of it, whether it's the financing, whether it's
Exactly.
doing the title searches, whatever it might be. There's technology involved in every step. So why isn't okay? Let's push a button. We want to buy it, and then boom, we close.
Mhm. Yeah, we close.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
but I don't understand how the technology actually works. I just use it. But that's
Yeah.
where that's where I see it going to is push a button. I want it, buy it now, boom, we're closing.
Exactly. Exactly. You're 100% right about it. You're 100% right about it. Yeah, I think agents need to be prepared, honestly. And, because I think in the future, buying a property is not an easy decision. That's one or two times for a lot of people. Many people they only buy twice or maybe three times in their whole life. So they
Right,
need to they are definitely going to not only Google that agent, they are going to use AI. They're going to ask ChatGPT, hey, like who is the best person that I can work with in this round? Who is the because this one specific transaction, this one specific home, that's the most important thing that they want to. That's their biggest financial decision ever. So agents needs to know it and they need to be prepared for it. And they want to be sure that whenever the people ask, hey, who's the best person, best real estate agent, best real estate agency out there that I can rely on,
right.
agent needs to be the
And we
one to
also
call.
have to shift our focus based on the not just the income demographics, but the age demographics of who we're dealing with. Okay,
Exactly.
I know right now that everybody, customers thinking of doing business with me are going to Google me. They're going to look at my online reviews. So it's
Sure.
very important to maintain strong reviews. It's also I know that with younger people that they don't want to talk to me, but text they'll answer their texts. Whereas I have senior buyers that don't want they might do text, but they still want some of the traditional, hey, listen, can we do
Exactly.
this in person and everything else? So it's business is very different how it's split based on the demographics. So
Ex
it's going to be interesting to see where that heads to. It's and I
100%.
don't know the answer to that by any means.
Yeah, because I think nobody does. I think people see what is going to, but there are predictions about it. But yeah, you're 100% right about it, Trent. So let's get to the final question, Jeremy.
Uh-oh.
Before we finish, yeah, go for
No, I'm just saying,
it.
uh-oh.
Exactly. So, Jeremy, before we finish, what is the one piece of advice that you would give someone who's thinking about buying or selling a home in Palm Beach County right now? So, that's something that I think that could be super helpful to them.
I would say don't wait. I mean, we have so
Exactly.
many special properties here. The question always comes up, when's the best time to buy real estate? Right now, because you know what? I can guarantee what the prices are today. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
Okay.
exactly.
So if you're really interested, I mean, particularly like if you want to order um, an ocean home or a condo, you know what? There's only so much ocean available where there's
Exactly.
properties. You can't wait. Okay, you at least know today what the prices are. If you're going to do financing, you know what rates are today. We've no control over what happens tomorrow. So
Exactly.
now is always the best time to buy.
Exactly, Jeremy. You said it very well. Now is the best time to buy. And where people can learn more about you and connect with your team, how exactly they
Sorry,
can
say,
connect you?
So the easiest way to contact me is you can go to my website, which is jeremyhasthebuyers.com, or
Exactly.
you can call and text me on my personal cell phone, and I answer my phone all the time. And that number's area code 561-351-6843.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are actually in Palm Beach, you're looking to buy or sell a property, I think you have found the best agent there, Jeremy. I can't recommend him enough. Awesome. Any
And we definitely will have fun during the process. Business is serious.
exactly,
Business is
exactly.
serious, but I do whatever I can to take that stress level down.
For sure. I love that part. I love that part, Jeremy. So, any last advice, any last thing that you want to mention, Jeremy, before we hit that, stop button?
Well, I would just say really that I've been very fortunate in life. I grew up in England, and I've been fortunate to have a lifestyle living in South Florida that I couldn't have done where I grew up. I have no regrets, and living in this country, I think this country is an absolutely amazing place to live. I wish there was less division in politics and what have you, but I think this country is an amazing place to be.
I love that. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for everything that you have mentioned. I think this has been a wonderful podcast. And thanks again, and wish you the best.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.